The evening breeze carried the faint scent of magnolias as I turned my old sedan into the long, lantern-lit driveway of my sister's grand estate. The hum of my car's weary engine was almost drowned by the quiet purrs of luxury vehicles lined neatly in front of her mansion, sleek, shining, and far newer than anything I'd ever driven. For a brief moment, I sat still, my hands on the steering wheel, steadying my breath. Tonight wasn't about appearances. It was family. At least that's what I told myself. The front door opened before I even stepped out. Serena Vale stood there, elegance wrapped in silk and diamonds. Her silver gown caught the light like water. Her hair, perfectly styled, framed a smile that looked warm enough, but I knew better. "Amelia," she called out, her voice laced with something almost sweet. "You made it. I wasn't sure that little car of yours would survive the hills." Laughter rippled from the guests nearby, the kind that wasn't loud but deep enough to sting. I felt my cheeks flush, but I forced a calm smile. "She's a bit old," I said lightly, closing the car door behind me, "but she's still running strong." Serena's eyes flickered over my car as if it were a relic. "Well, good for you. Maybe one day I'll let my driver take you car shopping. You deserve something presentable." I wanted to roll my eyes, but didn't. There was no point in starting another argument not here, surrounded by her high-class friends. I just nodded, letting her feel like she'd won the small battle she thought existed between us. Inside, the house was breathtaking. Chandeliers glowed above, casting soft light on polished marble floors. Paintings lined the walls, real art, not the kind you buy at weekend markets. Everything smelled like money, but also like distance. Serena had built herself a perfect life, and somewhere along the way, she'd forgotten where we came from. Dinner was served in a dining room larger than my entire apartment. The table sparkled with crystal glasses and fine china. Every plate was placed with precision. I took a seat near the end, quietly folding my napkin in my lap, while conversation floated around me: investments, resorts, new properties, vacations abroad. Serena's voice cut through, soft but pointed. "So, Amelia," she began, "still working at that little nonprofit? What do you do again? Organize book drives or bake sales?" A few polite chuckles followed. I smiled, steadying my tone. "Community outreach, actually. We help families who've lost their homes find new starts." Serena tilted her head. "Oh, how sweet." She sipped her wine. "I could never do that. It must be so hard, being around people who have so little." Her words felt like needles dressed in silk. I wanted to say anything, but instead I just smiled. You'd be surprised how much joy people still find, even when they have almost nothing. For a second, she faltered. But only for a second. The table moved on, and so did she, laughing at her husband's jokes, telling stories about her trips, her exclusive dinner parties, her custom wardrobe. I let her talk. I'd stopped trying to compete long ago. Still, I couldn't ignore the quiet ache in my chest. Serena wasn't always like this. We grew up sharing everything: hand-me-down clothes, broken crayons, even dreams of what our future might look like. She used to be kind, protective, but success had changed her, or maybe revealed something that was always there. Dessert came, and so did another jab. "You really should think about upgrading," Serena said with a light laugh. "That car of yours must be, 20 years old? How do you even find parts for it?" Her guest chuckled softly. I met her gaze and smiled. "It's vintage, and more reliable than most people think." Her smirk returned. "Still, I can't imagine you pulling up anywhere important in that thing." I simply nodded, finishing my tea in silence. I wasn't there to impress her. I'd come because I still cared, because somewhere, beneath all that polish, my sister still existed. But what Serena didn't know was that my evening wasn't over yet. Someone special was on their way to pick me up. Someone she'd never expect, and when she saw who stepped out of that car later that night, her smile would vanish. The laughter would stop. For the first time in years, she'd realized that success wasn't always loud, and quiet strength didn't need an audience. The dinner slowly came to an end, the chatter fading into the hum of polite goodbyes. I stood near the tall glass doors that opened into Serena's immaculate backyard, where fairy lights shimmered over a manicured garden. The night was warm, and laughter from the guests drifted through the air like perfume. I clutched my small purse, waiting patiently as the valet fetched my car. Serena floated to my side, wine glass in hand, her smile smug and effortless. "Leaving so soon?" she asked. "You didn't even stay for the after-dinner drinks. We were going to open that bottle of Chateau Margaux I told you about. You know, the one that costs more than your car?" Her words were dipped in charm, but the poison underneath was obvious. I met her gaze steadily. "I'm sure it's lovely, but someone's coming to pick me up, and I don't want to keep them waiting." Her eyebrows arched. "Oh, you didn't drive yourself?" "No," I said simply, adjusting my shawl. "I asked someone to meet me here." The guests were starting to trickle out now, exchanging hugs and promises of future get-togethers. Serena looked down at her phone, clearly trying not to look too curious, but I knew her. My quiet composure only fueled her imagination. "So," she said casually, "this mysterious someone must be special if you're skipping my dinner for them." I smiled faintly. "Very special." We stood in silence for a moment before the distant sound of an engine approached. But this wasn't the sound of a worn-out car. It was smooth, deep, and commanding. Serena turned, her face illuminated by the headlights that rolled slowly into the driveway, a black Bentley, gleaming like a mirror under the moonlight. Her lips parted slightly. Who's that?" The car stopped, and the driver stepped out first, opening the rear door with a crisp motion. Out stepped Daniel Carter, impeccably dressed, his presence immediately commanding the attention of everyone still nearby. Serena blinked, her composure slipping for the first time all night. "Wait," she said, almost whispering. "Is that Daniel Carter, the CEO of Carter Holdings?" I nodded. "Yes, he's an old friend. He offered to give me a ride home." Her glass trembled slightly in her hand. Daniel greeted me with a warm smile. "Amelia, sorry I'm late. The board meeting ran over." His tone was calm but familiar, the kind that spoke of years of quiet trust. "It's fine," I said softly. "You're right on time." Serena was frozen. Her husband, Victor, had appeared beside her, his expression shifting from curiosity to disbelief. You know Daniel Carter?" he asked. Daniel extended a polite nod to them both. "We've worked together for years. Amelia's the reason my company's community outreach program even exists. I wouldn't have started it without her." Serena's eyes flicked to me, her practiced confidence cracking. You never mentioned that," she stammered. I shrugged gently. "You never asked." Daniel smiled again, then turned toward me. "Ready to go?" I nodded. "Yes, thank you for waiting." As he held the door open, Serena reached out suddenly. "Amelia," she said, her voice quieter now, stripped of the mocking tone. "I had no idea you were working with him. You never talk about what you do." I looked at her for a long moment, my voice steady but soft. "That's because I don't do it for show, Serena. I just do it because it matters." Her eyes shimmered, the weight of embarrassment, and maybe something else beginning to settle. But I didn't stay to see it. I slid into the Bentley's leather seat, the door closing with a quiet click that somehow felt like closure. As Daniel drove us away, the mansion lights grew smaller in the rearview mirror. I exhaled, feeling the tension drain from my shoulders. Daniel glanced over with a knowing smile. "You handled that well." I chuckled lightly. "I wasn't trying to prove anything. She's just lost in a world that keeps score differently." He nodded. "You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. The people who see your worth already know it." His words sat gently in the air, comforting in their simplicity. I turned to look out the window, the reflection of city lights flickering across the glass. Serena would think about tonight about her words, her assumptions. And maybe, just maybe, she'd realize that success wasn't always measured by luxury cars and glittering chandeliers. For me, the quiet ride home was enough. When Daniel dropped me off in front of my modest apartment building, he stepped out again, holding the door open like he always did. "Amelia," he said, "thank you for reminding people like me that kindness can still lead." I smiled. "And thank you for reminding me that humility doesn't mean invisibility." He grinned. "Dinner next week?" "My treat." "Only if it's somewhere without chandeliers," I teased. He laughed softly. "Deal." As the Bentley pulled away, I stood under the soft glow of the streetlight, the night still and quiet. I thought of Serena, of her perfect life and her hollow laughter. I hoped she'd find something real beneath all that glitter, because I had. And sometimes, being underestimated was the sweetest victory of all.